Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into the EU's Artificial Intelligence Act.
Mm,
And you've sent us a ton of articles, documents, even meeting notes about it.
it seems like everyone wants to know.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people want to know how the EU is trying to shape the future of AI.
Right, and it's a big one.
Yeah,
It's a complex one.
so we've got it all right here, ready to unpack.
Yeah, that's right. It's a complex piece of legislation, but we're going to break it down.
Yeah,
What's really interesting is that the EU isn't just trying to regulate AI.
right.
They're trying to set a global standard for responsible AI development.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Yeah.
First, uh, how does the EU even define an AI system? Like, AI is such a buzzword these days.
Right.
I imagine defining it legally was not easy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
The EU's definition has actually evolved quite a bit.
Go for it.
Initially, it was pretty broad, but they've sharpened it to focus on systems that learn and adapt after they're deployed. So think of it like this. A traditional computer program follows a fixed set of instructions,
Right.
but an AI system can change its behavior based on the data it processes.
So it's not just about following instructions, it's about learning and evolving.
Exactly.
That makes sense. But how do you regulate something that's constantly learning and changing?
Well, that's where the EU's risk-based approach comes in.
Yeah.
They've categorized AI systems into 4 risk levels,
Okay,
from minimal risk to unacceptable risk.
got it.
And for those high-risk AI systems, they've put in place some pretty stringent requirements.
Okay, let's talk about unacceptable risk first.
Okay.
What kind of AI systems are they banning outright?
Well, the EU has taken a really strong stance against AI systems that are considered manipulative or exploitative.
Okay.
So this includes things like AI systems that use subliminal techniques to influence people's behavior
Right.
or exploit vulnerabilities of specific groups like children or the elderly.
So no AI systems that try to like trick people into buying something they don't need or Right. playing on their emotions or
Exactly. Yeah, playing on those insecurities.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
What about those high-risk AI systems? What are some examples and what kind of regulations do they face?
Okay, so think of AI being used in areas like healthcare, law enforcement, or critical infrastructure.
Right.
For example, an AI system diagnosing diseases or an AI system controlling traffic flow.
Right, high-stakes stuff.
Exactly. These are areas where mistakes could have really serious consequences.
Yeah.
So these systems have to go through really rigorous risk assessments
Yeah.
and meet high standards for transparency, human oversight, and data quality.
So before a company can even release one of these high-risk AI systems in the EU,
Right.
they need to prove that it's been thoroughly tested
Yes.
and that there are safeguards in place.
Exactly. And it's not just a one-time check.
Right.
They need to monitor these systems continuously
Oh, wow.
to make sure they're still operating safely and reliably.
That makes sense. But AI is constantly evolving. How can regulations keep pace with technology that's changing so rapidly?
That's a huge challenge.
Yeah.
To address this, the EU has introduced rules specifically for general-purpose AI models.
Okay.
These are systems that can be used for a wide range of purposes,
Yeah.
some of which we might not even be able to predict yet.
Yeah, that's scary.
It is. So the focus here is on building in safeguards from the ground up, ensuring these powerful AI models are developed with transparency and accountability in mind.
That's pretty forward-thinking.
It is.
So they're trying to anticipate future risks even before they even arise.
Yeah, and it's a tough job.
But what about enforcement? How does the EU actually make sure companies are following these rules?
Well, each EU country designates its own authority to oversee and enforce the AI Act.
Okay.
They can investigate, issue warnings, and even impose pretty hefty fines for violations.
Oh,
We're talking millions of euros,
wow.
or a percentage of global revenue.
So they're not messing around.
No, they're not.
They're serious about making sure that companies comply with these regulations, but it's not just about punishment. Right. The EU is also trying to promote responsible AI development globally.
Yes.
What are they doing on that front?
They're definitely taking a leadership role. They've been actively collaborating with international organizations,
Okay.
like the Council of Europe, to develop global standards. In fact, they signed the Council of Europe's Framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence back in 2024.
So they're trying to build a global consensus on ethical AI.
They are.
But the Council of Europe's Framework Convention, how does that compare to the EU AI Act?
That's a great question.
Are they basically the same thing?
While they share many similarities in terms of promoting responsible AI,
Yeah.
there are some key differences.
Okay.
The EU AI Act is much more specific and detailed in its regulatory requirements.
Okay.
It sets out concrete rules for different risk categories and establishes a clear enforcement mechanism. The Framework Convention, on the other hand, is broader and more focused on high-level principles.
Mm-hmm.
It serves as a guiding document for countries around the world as they develop their own AI regulations.
So it sounds like the EU is taking a more hands-on approach,
Yes.
while the Council of Europe is setting a more general framework.
It's a good way to put it.
But both are working towards the same goal of promoting ethical AI development on a global scale.
Exactly. It's like having a detailed rule book and a set of guiding principles working together.
This is really fascinating stuff. We've only scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Now I'm really curious about how the AI Act is affecting specific industries and sectors.
Yeah, me too.
Where should we dive in next?
Let's look at healthcare.
Yeah?
AI is already making waves in this sector.
Yeah.
But with such high stakes involved,
Right.
the AI Act's impact is particularly significant.
Right, let's dive into that in part 2.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're still exploring the EU's AI Act. And in part 1, we talked about some of the general aspects. But now I'm really curious to see how this is all playing out, like in the real world.
Yeah.
You mentioned healthcare.
Yes, healthcare is a great place to start because it really highlights the Act's impact. I mean, think about the potential of AI in healthcare.
Yeah.
Diagnosing diseases, personalizing treatments, even accelerating drug discovery. But
That's pretty amazing.
It is, but these advancements also come with some significant risks, especially when you're talking about, patient lives.
Right, so how is the AI Act addressing those risks?
Well, any AI system that's used for diagnosis or treatment recommendations, that falls squarely into that high-risk category we discussed earlier.
Okay.
And that means they face those strict requirements, rigorous testing, clear accountability measures, and ongoing monitoring.
Right, to ensure safety and reliability. It sounds like the EU is saying AI has incredible potential in healthcare.
Right.
But we need to make absolutely sure that it's used responsibly.
Right.
But how does this actually work in practice? Can you give us a concrete example?
Absolutely. Imagine an AI system that helps radiologists analyze medical images.
Okay.
Like X-rays or CT scans.
Okay.
Under the AI Act, the developers of this system would have to prove that it's been trained on a diverse and representative data set.
Okay.
So it doesn't inadvertently discriminate against certain patient groups.
Interesting.
They'd also need to establish clear procedures for human oversight.
So a radiologist wouldn't just accept the AI's analysis without question. They'd still be in charge using their expertise to, evaluate the AI's findings.
Exactly.
And make the final call. It's like having a very advanced assistant.
Yes.
But the doctor is still the expert.
Exactly. And the AI Act also mandates transparency.
Okay.
So patients would have the right to know if AI was used in their diagnosis or treatment planning, and they could ask questions about how the AI system arrived at its conclusions.
That level of transparency is crucial.
It is.
It builds trust and ensures that patients feel empowered in their healthcare decisions.
Right. They're not just being told, the computer says this.
Exactly.
They have a say.
So the AI Act is pushing the healthcare industry to adopt, more rigorous and ethical practices when it comes to AI.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
And while some might see this as a hurdle, it's ultimately about ensuring that AI is used safely and effectively to improve patient care.
Okay, so healthcare is a big one. What about other sectors? I imagine law enforcement is another area where the use of AI raises all sorts of questions.
You're absolutely right. And the AI Act is quite specific when it comes to law enforcement applications.
Yeah.
For example, using AI to predict crime hotspots or analyze evidence is allowed,
Okay.
but with some pretty strong caveats.
What kind of caveats are we talking about?
Well, first and foremost, any AI system used in law enforcement needs to be carefully assessed for potential bias.
Right.
They can't use AI to unfairly target certain neighborhoods or demographic groups.
Yeah.
That's a big no-no under the AI Act.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It would be deeply problematic if AI was used to just perpetuate existing biases in the criminal justice system.
Exactly. And again, human oversight is paramount.
Okay.
The AI Act emphasizes that AI should be a tool for law enforcement.
Right.
Not a replacement for human judgment and discretion.
So even if an AI system flags someone as a potential suspect,
Right.
human officers would still need to investigate
Yeah.
and make the final decision about whether to arrest or charge that person.
Precisely. The AI Act recognizes that while AI can be a valuable tool for law enforcement, it's crucial that humans remain in control and exercise their judgment.
So far, we've talked about healthcare and law enforcement. Let's shift gears to finance, an industry that's already being transformed by AI.
Yeah, definitely.
What are some of the key implications of the AI Act in this sector?
One of the biggest areas of impact is in credit scoring. You know those algorithms that determine your creditworthiness and whether you qualify for a loan?
Right.
The AI Act mandates transparency in these systems.
So if you're denied a loan because of an AI-powered credit score,
Yeah.
you have the right to know why.
Exactly. You could request an explanation of how the AI system arrived at its decision and what factors were taken into account.
Okay.
This helps to ensure fairness and prevent AI systems from discriminating against certain individuals or groups.
That seems like a huge step towards making financial systems more equitable.
It is.
But transparency isn't just important for individuals.
Right?
It's also crucial for the overall stability of the financial system.
Absolutely. The AI Act recognizes that AI systems used in finance can pose systemic risks. If a widely used AI system makes a mistake or operates in a biased way, it could have a ripple effect throughout the entire financial sector.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's why the Act emphasizes risk management and oversight, ensuring that these systems are robust and reliable.
It's fascinating how the AI Act is trying to anticipate and mitigate these potential risks.
Yeah, it's a big challenge, but they're trying to be proactive.
But AI is being used in so many other areas as well.
Right.
Transportation, education, even entertainment. Does the AI Act address all of these applications?
Oh, it doesn't go into specific details for every single sector.
Right.
But the principles laid out in the Act apply broadly.
Okay.
Whether it's self-driving cars, personalized learning platforms, or even AI-generated music.
Wow.
The emphasis on transparency, accountability, and human oversight remains constant.
So it's about setting a framework for responsible AI development that can be applied across different sectors.
That's the idea.
But this is where I get a bit skeptical.
Yeah.
That AI is evolving so rapidly.
Right.
New applications are emerging all the time. Can any regulation truly keep up with that pace of innovation?
It's definitely a challenge, and that's why the AI Act is designed to be adaptable.
Okay.
It provides a set of core principles
Right.
that can be applied to new technologies as they emerge.
So it's not just a static set of rules, it's a dynamic framework that can evolve with the technology.
Exactly. And the EU is actively monitoring the development of AI and is prepared to update the Act as needed to ensure it remains relevant and effective.
That's reassuring. But let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Okay.
The AI Act is a European regulation. Does it really have any impact outside of the EU?
That's a great question, and I think the impact is already being felt globally.
Okay.
The EU is a major economic and technological powerhouse.
Right.
So its regulations often set a precedent for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Much like GDPR did for data privacy, the AI Act is likely to influence AI regulations in other countries.
So companies that want to do business in the EU
Exactly.
will need to comply with the AI Act regardless of where they're based.
Right.
And that could lead to a sort of ripple effect where those same standards are adopted more widely.
Precisely. And many see the AI Act as a model for responsible AI regulation. Countries around the world are looking to the EU for guidance as they grapple with the challenges of AI governance.
It's almost like the EU is setting a global standard for ethical AI.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
But setting standards is one thing, enforcement is another.
True.
How can the EU ensure that companies outside its borders are actually following these rules?
That's a valid concern. And while the EU can't directly enforce its laws on companies in other countries, it can exert influence through trade agreements and diplomatic pressure.
So if a company wants to access the EU market, they'll need to play by the EU's rules, including the AI Act.
Exactly. And many companies, even those outside of the EU, are recognizing the importance of responsible AI development.
Okay.
They're realizing that building trust with consumers and society as a whole is essential for the long-term success of their AI products and services.
It's a smart business move as well as an ethical one.
It is.
But let's be honest, not every company is going to be so willing to comply. What happens if a company violates the AI Act?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, the EU has a pretty robust enforcement mechanism.
Okay.
For companies operating within the EU, they can face hefty fines and other penalties.
Right.
And even for companies outside the EU, there can be consequences.
Like being barred from doing business in the EU.
Exactly. Or facing reputational damage that could hurt their business globally.
So the stakes are pretty high.
They are.
It sounds like the EU is really committed to making the AI Act work.
Yeah.
both within its borders and on a global scale.
Absolutely. And it's not just about compliance and enforcement.
Right.
The EU is also investing heavily in research and development,
Okay.
promoting innovation in AI while ensuring that it aligns with European values.
So it's not a case of stifling innovation,
No.
but rather guiding it in a responsible direction.
Precisely. The EU sees AI as a powerful tool for progress,
Uh-huh.
but it wants to ensure that progress is inclusive, equitable, and sustainable.
We've covered a lot of ground here, exploring the impact of the AI Act on various sectors and its global implications.
We have.
But at the end of the day, it all comes back to the individual.
Right.
How does the AI Act affect you, the listener, in your daily life?
That's a great question.
That's what we'll explore in Part 3. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've spent the last 2 parts of this episode really unpacking the EU's AI Act.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been through a lot, from its core definitions to, its impact on industries worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
But now let's bring it all home.
Yeah.
You've sensed all this material because you want to know, what does this mean for me?
Right. That's the question, isn't it? We can talk about, regulations and principles all day, but ultimately it's about how this technology touches your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's get practical. Let's say you're a doctor using an AI-powered diagnostic tool.
Okay.
How does the AI Act change how you approach your work?
Well, it all boils down to informed decision-making.
Okay.
You can't just blindly trust the AI's output.
No matter how impressive it seems, the Act emphasizes understanding.
Okay.
You need to know how the AI works, what data was trained on its potential biases, and where its limitations lie.
So it's not about replacing your expertise.
Right.
It's about enhancing it with AI, but doing so with a critical eye.
Precisely, you're still the expert responsible for the final call.
Right.
And for those high-risk AI systems, the Act requires proof of rigorous testing and clear procedures for human oversight. It's about making sure that AI supports, not dictates medical decisions.
That makes sense. But what about the patient's perspective?
Okay.
What changes for them under the AI Act?
Transparency is key here.
Okay.
Imagine you're going in for a complex procedure. Under the AI Act, you have the right to know if an AI system played a role in your diagnosis or treatment plan.
Okay.
And you have the right to ask how that AI arrived at its conclusions.
So no more black boxes.
Right.
Patients can actually understand how AI is being used in their own healthcare. Exactly. It empowers patients to be active participants in their healthcare decisions. They can ask questions. They can challenge the AI's recommendations if they have concerns, and ultimately make informed choices, in partnership with their doctor.
That's really powerful. Okay, so that's healthcare? But AI is everywhere. What about those of us who aren't, doctors or engineers?
Yes.
How does the AI Act affect our everyday lives?
Think about the online world.
Okay.
Algorithms curate your social media feeds. They target you with personalized ads, and they even filter out spam from your inbox.
Right.
The AI Act doesn't eliminate these systems, but it pushes for greater transparency.
Okay.
You have more control over how your data is used and a better understanding of how these systems are shaping your online experience.
So it's about giving individuals more agency in a world where AI is increasingly making decisions for us.
Exactly. But the AI Act isn't just a passive set of rules, it encourages active participation.
Okay.
If you see an AI system behaving in a way that seems unfair, biased, or harmful,
you can speak up, report it to the authorities.
Wow.
Challenge companies on their practices.
So it's about empowering individuals to hold AI systems accountable.
Yes.
Not just blindly accepting whatever they dish out.
Exactly. The AI Act isn't a finish line, it's a starting point.
Okay.
It provides a framework for navigating this new world. But it's up to all of us to shape how AI evolves and ensure it's used for good.
Okay, so that's the big picture.
Right.
But what can we do right now as individuals to make sure AI is used responsibly? It can feel overwhelming.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
First, stay informed.
Okay.
Read articles. Listen to podcasts like this one seriously.
Of course.
Understand the basics of AI and how it's impacting different aspects of your life.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. If you don't understand how an AI system is working, ask for clarification.
Don't be shy. Knowledge is power.
Exactly.
And once you have that knowledge, share it.
Talk to your friends and family about these issues. Raise awareness.
Yeah.
The more people understand about AI, the better equipped we'll be to shape its future.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of your choices.
Okay.
Support companies that are developing AI responsibly. Choose products and services that align with your values. Every decision you make sends a message about the kind of AI-powered world you want to live in.
That's a great point. It's easy to feel powerless in the face of these big technological shifts.
Right.
But ultimately, our collective choices have a huge impact.
Exactly. The future of AI is not predetermined.
Okay.
It's a future we're all creating together right now through our actions and decisions.
That's a thought-provoking note to end on.
It is.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the EU's Artificial Intelligence Act, I want to leave you with this. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.
Yeah.
The future of AI is in our hands.
It is.
And it's up to all of us to shape it responsibly.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time.